There are places out there that become famous for saving lives. And then, there are places remembered entirely for the terrifying secrets they tried to bury. Welcome to This Explainer. Tonight, we are diving headfirst into one of America's most disturbing fictional hospital mysteries. We're talking about a place where an entire hospital floor was sealed away forever, locking in a history so deeply unsettling that, even today, no official explanation has ever satisfied the people who actually work there.
Just listen to this quote. "Whatever happened up there was never meant to leave that floor." That chilling sentence is literally the only way former employees will describe the events that took place. Decades later, it's still all they're willing to say. Let's really stop and think about that for a second. A massive, state-of-the-art facility filled with top-tier medical professionals, and this ominous silence is the only legacy it leaves behind. So the absolute crucial question we have to ask is, what exactly happened to warrant a silence this profound?
Part 1. The Luxury Hospital, built for the elite.
So St. Mercy Hospital opens up in the spring of 1997, heavily bankrolled by billionaire businessman Richard Ashcroft. It's built just outside of Denver, Colorado, and right off the bat, you could tell this wasn't your average medical center. It was a pristine, state-of-the-art sanctuary designed specifically for VIPs. We're talking bright white hallways, absolute luxury in the patient rooms, the absolute newest medical technology. It quickly becomes the go-to facility for treating celebrities and politicians. It even had a highly restricted 7th floor reserved exclusively for those top-tier patients. But that flawless reputation collapsed, and I mean rapidly. Just a year later, in the summer of 1998, bizarre anomalies started plaguing the night staff. And by October, literally mere months after the trouble started, that entire 7th floor was permanently sealed off. It's just a staggering collapse for a multi-million-dollar investment. Let's take a closer look at exactly what started happening in that summer window.
Part 2. The night shift anomalies. The creeping dread.
For a solid year, things at St. Mercy were completely flawless. But then, the stories started spreading among the night staff. Now, at first, the administration just brushed it all off as stress or, electrical problems. But this creeping dread became entirely impossible to ignore, and it was manifesting in ways that totally defied logic. A nurse claims she's hearing children laughing in an empty hallway well past midnight. A security guard reports watching an elevator repeatedly stop on the 7th floor, even though absolutely nobody had pressed the button inside or out. Maintenance workers are finding lights switched on inside rooms that have been locked tight for weeks. I mean, we've all been spooked by a weird noise at work, but this escalated so fast. An ICU monitor suddenly displays a rhythmic heartbeat, but get this, the machine is completely unplugged and the room has been totally empty for months. Another nurse physically watches a heavy hospital bed just slowly roll across the hallway entirely by itself. Security cameras are constantly capturing movement, but whenever the guards actually rush to the scene, the hallways are dead empty. Employees start quietly resigning. People flat out refuse to work the night shifts. The perfectly sterile, secure environment was just breaking down.
Part 3. October 14, 1998. The incident.
By the fall, tension in the hospital had reached an absolute breaking point. Staff were jumpy, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And on a crisp autumn night, it finally did. This was the night that changed St. Mercy Hospital forever. I want you to burn this exact time into your mind. 2:17 a.m. At exactly 2:17 in the morning, the hospital's emergency power system suddenly and violently activated. The entire 7th floor, that highly secure, extremely exclusive VIP sector, lost all electricity. Total pitch black darkness. This blackout lasted for almost exactly 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds of darkness. But when the lights finally flickered back on,
exactly 3 VIP patients had vanished, just completely disappeared into thin air. Their hospital beds were still physically warm to the touch. The life support and the medical equipment were all still quietly running right next to the beds. But the people? Gone. And here is the truly impossible part of all this. The police searched every single room, every hallway, every staircase. There were no broken windows. There were no forced doors. Not a single security alarm had been triggered. Nothing. Just empty space where 3 human beings used to be.
And how exactly did the hospital address this impossible event? Well, the official investigation concluded it was a computer malfunction mixed with paperwork errors. Right. Because 3 high-profile VIPs just accidentally get filed away into the ether. The absurdity of this cover-up was just staggering. The staff definitely weren't buying it. Some were claiming they were actually hearing voices calling their names from behind locked doors, while others saw shadowy figures standing at the ends of corridors. Within a matter of days, the 7th floor was permanently closed, locked down without a single further detail ever offered to the public.
Part 4, The Return in 2025, Documenting the Truth. So, we jump forward 27 years to the fall of 2025. A documentary crew finally secures permission to enter the now entirely abandoned St. Mercy Hospital to uncover the truth. The building has literally been closed for decades. Thick dust covers the hallways, broken wheelchairs sit frozen exactly where they were abandoned all those years ago. The silence inside is described as almost unnatural. To document this whole thing, we have a 5-person team. You've got Daniel Brooks, the producer, Lisa Curter on camera, Michael Ross handling the audio, Emily Turner, a historian. But the absolute most important name on this permit is Thomas Reed. Thomas was a former security officer who was actually working at St. Mercy back in 1998. For nearly 3 decades, he had completely refused every single interview request. He kept his silence. But for some reason, he finally agreed to join this crew and return to the site of his nightmare.
The very moment he steps into that main lobby, the dread is immediate. Thomas quietly admits to the crew, "I never wanted to come back." The building looks empty, but it never feels empty. The crew actually spends hours documenting the lower floors, finding absolutely nothing but old medical files and broken equipment. It's mundane, it's totally ordinary, until just after midnight.
Now remember, there is absolutely zero electricity restored to this building. The power grid has been cut for years. Yet, the main elevator unexpectedly roars to life. The heavy metal doors slowly slide open, and inside, on the control panel, only a single button is glowing in the dark. The number 7. No one had touched it. Thomas immediately steps back and says, "We're not going up there." But as is usually the case with documentary crews, curiosity wins out. The doors close, and they begin to rise.
Part 5. Inside Room 714. The Nameless Door.
Seriously, ask yourself, what would you do here? You step out of that elevator onto a pitch-black, completely untouched floor. The air drops in temperature, feeling strangely, deeply cold. Patient records are still resting on the reception desk, exactly where nurses left them decades earlier. Only your flashlights pierce the darkness. And then you suddenly realize every single door has a nameplate, except for one, Room 714. The nameplate is just gone, and the door is locked from the outside. Thomas's voice is literally shaking as he tells the crew, "This was the last room we checked the night everything happened." And from that moment, things escalate incredibly fast. First, Michael, the audio engineer, picks up slow, heavy footsteps. They follow them, but then the footsteps return from directly behind them. They turn around. The hallway is completely empty. Next, a loud metal crash echoes from the nurse's station. A wheelchair, which was previously against the wall, is now sitting right in the middle of the corridor. Lisa quickly checks the footage. The wheelchair is in one frame, and in the literal very next frame, it has teleported several feet away. Zero movement, just an impossible jump. Then, all the radio equipment starts bursting with static interference, and a faint voice repeats over and over, "Don't open the door." Thomas stares at room 714 and whispers, "It started with that room, and if we open it..." But he never finishes the sentence. Because right then, the locked door to room 714 slowly begins to open completely by itself. The camera is rolling. The darkness inside the room looks even deeper than the hallway. And then, the recording just cuts to black.
When the camera finally comes back online, nearly 30 seconds of footage is entirely missing. None of the crew members have any memory of what just happened. But look closely at their clocks. Daniel's watch says 12:43 a.m. Lisa's camera says 1:08 a.m. But Michael's audio recorder, it clearly displays 2:17 a.m., that exact time from the 1998 incident. The missing 30 seconds of footage connects directly back to the 30 seconds of darkness that stole those 3 patients decades ago.
The door to 714 is just sitting wide open now. The room is perfectly still, coated in dust. Emily, the historian, finds an old file resting on the bedside table simply labeled Patient 714. Inside, the pages are totally blank except for the very last one. Written in black ink are 6 words. Some doors should never be opened. The exact moment Daniel reads that sentence out loud, boom. Every single flashlight on the floor dies simultaneously. Complete darkness. Only Lisa's night vision camera is rolling. She slowly pans toward the doorway, and at the far end of the corridor stands a tall, completely motionless figure. No face can be seen. It just vanishes. The crew absolutely sprints for the elevator. They hit the button, the doors open, and as they are closing, Thomas looks back. For a split second, he sees them.
Hospital staff, doctors, nurses, even patients, standing silently outside every single room in the hallway. Frozen, unblinking.
The crew barely makes it out and leaves way before sunrise. When they sit down and review the footage days later, they discover something deeply, deeply disturbing. A dark figure is standing in the background of almost every single video they took. None of them remembered seeing anyone there while they were filming. And before you assume this was just some prank for the documentary, multiple video experts analyzed the footage. They found absolutely zero signs of digital editing. Thomas Reed, the man who finally broke his 27-year silence, refused to ever give another interview after that night. He left the producers with this final, haunting conclusion. The hospital didn't want us to find answers. It wanted us to leave.
Today, St. Mercy Hospital remains completely abandoned. The 7th floor has never been reopened. No official report has ever been issued to explain why it was permanently sealed. Perhaps there is some logical, super convoluted explanation buried deep in old blueprints and electrical grids. Or perhaps some places are just meant to keep their secrets forever. But I want to leave you with a final, terrifying thought. If those video experts are right, and that night vision footage wasn't doctored, what really controls the 7th floor? Thank you for exploring the shadows of St. Mercy with me. And remember, the scariest stories are always the ones that leave the most crucial questions unanswered.